don't know this, but when I was in the 3rd grade, we sang this song every morning. And every morning I cried. Yeah. So, we're starting out the Holy Week, and I have to tell you, I'm a little nervous about it. Every year, I get a little nervous about the Holy Week because, you know, Jesus and I haven't always seen eye to eye. He called me a bad girl before I even had an opportunity to be a bad girl, you know? And, wow, he died for my sins before I even knew what my sins were. So I have a little thing going on with Jesus. And then, lately I've been trying to reconcile that. And I've been reading, Marcus Bach's book. It's called Meeting Jesus Again for the First Time. And it talks a little bit more about the truth of Jesus rather than the Christian, more basic view of Jesus. And I can reconcile myself. I can be more in harmony with Jesus from that point of view. And I'm talking about the Gospels of Thomas, sort of, because the Gospels of Thomas allowed me to be more familiar with what Jesus actually said, rather than what other people said Jesus said and interpreted it according to their point of view and their prejudices. So the Gospel of Thomas was found in a cave near the town of Nag Hammadi in 1945. And they had been buried in this cave since like 70 years after the death of Jesus. And to me, that's a miracle in itself. Just finding those, it's like finding a star in the most distant sky. What are the odds of finding these writings that are words directly spoken from Jesus? And to me, that's just amazing. And it sort of allows me to get to know Jesus on a more intimate basis rather than some conical sifted through, they can hear this and they can hear that sort of gospels that are in the Bibles. So the thing about it is that when Jesus came, the scriptures were different and interpreted differently than he ultimately interpreted them. So the historical early writings in the Bible were interpreted from spirituality was linked to cleanliness, and holiness was linked to purity, which I don't know. I think from the beginning of time, because disease and unhealthiness was so often transmuted or transferred through things that were unclean, that sort of cleanliness became spirituality, meaning that only the healthiest males could be considered spiritual or in relationship with God. So if you were unwell, if you were a female, if you were in poverty, then not so holy, not so spiritual. And then Jesus came along and he changed all of that. He said, no. First off, I'm in touch with God. And he called in the Aramaic is Papa. So he had a real personal relationship with God. He didn't have to go through the priests and the temple to create a relationship with the divine. And that was heretical. How dare he? Because the temple was the center of the community, and only those that were priests, who happened to get to be priests because they bought their position, it was like an investment, and then they could make more and more money. And Jesus said, that's not the way it is. So before Jesus came, the temple was a pretty nasty place to be. They would have sacrifices. So you'd go into the temple and you'd buy either a chicken or you'd buy a sheep. And then you'd pay the priest to slaughter it for you. And then there would be all of it was stinky. Ooey. Absolutely. Then they drained the blood. It was just a nasty place to be. Not fun. But the priests were making a lot of money out of it, and the money changers were making a lot of money out of it, because you could only buy a sacrifice with their particular money, the Hebrew money, and so, and then they would take their cut. So to get on the good side of God, it cost you a lot of money. You had to go through a lot of icky stuff. It smelled bad. That's why incense became so popular, just to kind of get rid of the bad smell in the temple. And if you were a woman, you could only go so far. They'd be willing to take your sacrifice and your money, but you couldn't go inside the temple. And Jesus said, this is stupid, in those words. Yeah. He said it a little better than me. Absolutely. He said, no, you can have a relationship with the divine yourself. You don't need all of this stuff. You don't need all of the fetid, nasty stuff. And also then, for Jesus, compassion was the key. Compassion. Caring about people. And that was heretical too. Oh my goodness. Caring for the blind and the lame and the women and the poor. That was unclean. You didn't do that. And Jesus came along and he said, yep, you guys have got it all backwards. So he got himself in big trouble with the priests and the temple. He got himself in really bad trouble with the Romans. He was just not in good shape with those powers that be. He was a real rabble-rouser. And that makes me like him a lot better. Really. So here's some of the things that were in Thomas that I liked. Jesus said this. Now these are quotes from Jesus directly. They weren't run through the politically correct filter. He said this. Whoever has ears, let them hear. There is light within a man, and just let me start over. Whoever has ears, let him hear. There is light within a man of light, and he lights up the whole world. If he does not shine, he is darkness. So when we think about our philosophy, that we are all one, and we are the light of God. That's what Ernest Holmes was saying before they found the Gospel of Thomas. That we are the light. We are it. And you know, if we don't shine our light, then we're in darkness. It's a choice that we get to make, to be in connection one-on-one with that divine one. That's what he said. And I don't know, somehow or other, that got all twisted around, didn't it? But now we're back to the truth. The other thing he said is, preach from your housetops that which you will hear in your ear. In other words, God is speaking to you. Speak it. Live it. Stand in it and be your light. What's going on here?
God is speaking.
For no one lights the lamp and puts it under a bush, nor does he put it in a hidden place, but rather he sets it on a lampstand so that everyone who enters and leaves will see its light. Here she comes. Come on, let's fix this. What's that?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Is your mic on? Still on? Is your mic still on? Is that mic still on?
Huh? I don't know.
I don't see anything but tape.
That was uncalled for. Well, okay. She didn't say it, but now I have to say it. I had a piece of tape stuck on my back this morning, and it must have been there for a whole week. I don't know.
Didn't say paper.
But we're not talking about it. Okay. Preach from your housetops that which you will hear in your ear. For no one lights a lamp and puts it under a bushel, nor does he put it in a hidden place, but rather he sets it on a lampstand, so that everyone who enters and leaves will see it. So be the light that you are. When you're in relationship to Spirit, one-on-one, you have that light. You are it. And don't hide it. Stand up and be the truth of who you are. Be the expression of Spirit that you are. And live from that place. Because God right now speaks to each one of us. It's not just limited to Jesus 2,000 years ago. The voice is ongoing. That divine essence, that divine one is speaking to you. If you listen and then live from that place. It's not old stuff. It's current, right here, right now, you stuff. You're God. And that was really scary to the temple priest, and it was really scary to the Romans. And many of Jesus' followers. Now here's another good one. Jesus said, if the flesh came into being because of spirit, it is a wonder. But if spirit came into being because of the body, it is a wonder of wonders. Indeed, I am amazed at how this great wealth has made it home in this poverty. Isn't that delicious? Spirit makes its home in this poverty. And then I become sacred and holy. I'm it. That's the wonder of it all. And that's the wonder of what he taught. What he really taught. Not all of the sins and you're going to get punished and aren't you bad? No. He came to teach us that we're it. And we have an intimate relationship, a parental, loving relationship with the divine. It's personal. It's not out there, somebody telling you what you can do and what you can't do and how you can do it. It's your own authority. Sitting in your own power and your own authority. That's wondrous. And when we know that, we've got to stand up to it. We've got to be it. And the compassion part of it. You know, we know the story of the Good Samaritan who was unclean, but he's the one that helped the man on the roadside. He's the one that stood in compassion. He's the one that was the essence of what Jesus was talking about. Over the weekend, I went to, yesterday, I guess it was, time. I went to watch my son do a triathlon, or half triathlon, or something or other. I don't know exactly the terminology of it, but, you know, you swim for a while, and then you bicycle for a while, and then you run for a while.
Right.
And so, while I was there, when I first got there, there was this man who was an amputee, a double amputee, carrying legs on his shoulders. So he was a double amputee, and he was carrying legs on his shoulders. And behind him was another pair of double amputees carrying this man who went with the legs. They were carrying him after he'd gotten out of the water, and they were carrying his legs to get on the bicycle. I know. It was deeply moving. Now that is the essence of compassion. To be your brother's keeper, to help your brother. Wow. That's what Jesus was talking about as far as compassion. Care about people on that deepest level. Help people. Help those that are disabled. Help those that we can historically continue to label people on unhealthy, unclean, because of some fear that we have. But when we know that we're God and we are empowered beyond measure, we have the power of the divine within us, working for us. How can we not help others stand up for what is loving, what is kind? That's what he came to teach us. No matter how misconstrued his message has become. And then he says, whoever has something in his hand will receive more, and whoever has nothing will be deprived of even the little he has. Now, what does that mean? That means that it's done unto you as you believe. If you are in gratitude for what you have, then more and more and more will come to you. But when you complain a little about how little you have, then less and less and less will come to you. And that's the law of reciprocity. That it is done unto you as you believe. And that's what Jesus taught. That's what we teach here, really. That there's only one God. That's all there is. And what you think is what you get. It is done unto you as you believe. So I would suggest to you, just a suggestion, that maybe you take this week and you think about and act from, since this is the Holy Week, think about and act from that place where you know that you are it. You're God. You're the power. And that divine energy, that essence, is speaking to you continually. And think about living a life of compassion and how that shows up for you in your day-to-day life. See how that works for you. I love you, each one. I love you all. Namaste. So I'd like to invite the minister and the practitioners to stand and hold the consciousness with me as I pray, as we all pray. We pray together. I want to remind you of the prayer box. If you have a challenge in your life that you need a little help with, just leave a prayer request. And these powerful people who know the truth will know the truth for you. Give you a little bump start on the good unfolding in your life. So join with me. As I turn my attention inward to that place where my candle burns brightly. And if you would let my words be your words, just allow me to speak the truth for you as I speak the truth for myself. I allow myself to understand that deep relationship with the divine, that personal relationship where I am connected with the loving, gentle, compassionate essence that I call God. And I allow that glorious truth to be actively alive in my life. I allow myself to know and use the truth that my words, my thoughts, my deeds are creative. And just like Jesus, I can perform miracles just because my words are powerful. And when I speak them, I know that they are done. And so in this place of connection and resonance and harmony with the alive essence that I call Jesus, I allow my life to unfold from that place of power, from that place of grace and beauty. From that place of knowing, I allow whatever needs to be healed in my life, what needs to be in alignment in my life, what needs to be in balance, unfolds perfectly now. So I speak my word for each one here, for peace and harmony, for wellness, for wealth, for abundance, for love, for friendship, for support, for all that is good, all that is in harmony, and all that is in God. And so with great enthusiasm and excitement, I just allow it to be released, knowing fully that it must be returned to me manifest. And so I step out of the way and I allow the amazing, miraculous, creative design of the universe to flow into my life. And I celebrate that now. And I invite you to join with me as we declare it done by saying, and so it is.